Führer, darf ich Ihnen zum Geburtstag gratulieren?
Wenn er sich ohne Befehl entfernt hat, ist das Fahnenflucht.
Mein Führer, wir haben noch keine Meldung. Ich spreche gerade mit Koller.
Koller, geben Sie mir Koller. Koller.
Good morning.
Sie wissen, dass Berlin unter Artilleriefeuer liegt.
To build a fairer, a more equal world. And we need to start with a new economic model, where those that can pay more do pay more. The top 5%, where corporations pay their fair share.
Hören Sie den Beschuss nicht?
Look, we've no plans for increasing tax. That isn't how we've started this.
Die Russen sollen eine Eisenbahnbrücke über die Oder haben.
So we have to make the case for the benefits of migration, the benefits of free movement. I want people in this country to be able to go and work abroad in Europe. And I want people in Europe to be able to come and continue to work here. I want families to be able to live together, whether that's in Europe or here. And I want people in this country, in the United Kingdom, to be able to go and study in Europe, just as they can now. And people in Europe to be able to come and study here.
Kommende Generationen dankbar sein. Ich übernehme für alles die volle Verantwortung.
There is no return to freedom of movement. We have left the EU. There's no case for going back to the EU, no case for going into the single market or the customs union, and no freedom of movement.
Das sind ja nur 12 Kilometer bis zum Stadtkern. Ist der Russe schon so nah?
On tuition fees, I felt very, very strongly that one thing that benefited me greatly was not having tuition fees. If you come from a background or family that hasn't got a lot of money sloshing around, and this would be true of my family, people don't like to take on debt. And they're scared of debt. And there's huge, I mean, tuition fees is a huge debt for young people that they carry with them for a very long time. And that's why we rightly committed at last election to get rid of tuition fees.
Ihr Ansuchen, Berlin zu verlassen, ist ganz und gar unakzeptabel.
Well, on the question of tuition fees, let me take that head on, because I think the current arrangements don't work for students, and I don't think they work for universities. So there's a powerful case for change. And we are looking at options to change the approach. Now, abolishing tuition fees is one option. And I said 5 years ago, or whatever it was, that I would want to do that. But now there's been huge damage to the economy done by Liz Truss and the Tories in the last 5 years. And difficult choices have to be made. And abolishing tuition fees would cost a huge amount of money. And we can't both abolish tuition fees and have 40,000 extra appointments every week in the NHS.
Wenn sich ohne Befehl entfernt hat, ist das Fahnenflucht. Nur zu lernen, wie man Messer Gabel hält.
My mum was very, very ill all of her life. And as children and as a family, we spent a lot of time in high dependency units with her in hospital where she was fighting for her life. And I remember her saying to me as a teenage boy once when she was really, really ill, and we were wondering what to do, she took my hand and she said, "You won't let your dad go private, will you?" And it was so important to her, however ill she was, as a matter of absolute principle, she felt that you shouldn't make money from mental health. And it is a matter of principle.
Fink soll mit der 12. Armee die Sache unterstützen.
Well, the immediate problem is obviously the waiting lists, and one of the issues that we've looked at is whether or not we're using the private sector effectively. A number of people do go as NHS patients to the private sector. Our research shows that that's been underused and we could do more of it.
Haben Sie noch Zweifel an meinem Befehl? Ich glaube, ich habe mich klar genug ausgedrückt.
I've made that commitment.
Ich war nie auf einer Akademie. In einem rücksichtslosen, mit aller Kraft geführten Gewaltschlag zurückwerfen.
I never made a commitment to nationalisation.
Von allem Anfang an bin ich so verraten und betrogen worden. Aber alle diese Verräter werden bezahlen.
On the 28 billion, we are doubling down. We're not backing off. And it's really important that we say this. For two reasons for the policy position we've adopted. The first is a matter of trust.
Hat die Korruption in unserem Staat möglich gemacht. Ich hätte gut daran getan.
What won't now happen is that we won't make further or new investment decisions, and that means that we won't reach the £28 billion envisaged, and that figure is effectively stood down. The reason for that is because since we announced
terrible damage to our economy.
Not just the Liz Truss budget, but also now the government briefing that it's going to max out on the government credit card.
Wildfremder, unberechenbarer Künstler, all die anderen, ja. Das ist der schlimmste Verrat von allen!
I oppose HS2 on cost and on merit. It will not achieve its stated objectives.
Sich zu autorisieren behauptet, ich wäre krank!
Yes, we would. I think that new line, the HS2 line up to and including Yorkshire and Leeds, is really important for the future of the North and the Northern Powerhouse Rail going across Leeds to Manchester. And the government promised that new line up through Yorkshire to Leeds, the high-speed line. It promised a new line, Manchester to Leeds. And now it has torn up those promises and betrayed everybody in the north of England. I was in Bradford yesterday, and the sense of anger and just in Yorkshire in particular, I picked this up, a sense of if you can't keep your promises, don't make them in the first place.
Man müsste die ganze Luftwaffenführung sofort aufhängen!
I really hope it's coming home.
Das ist unerhört. Unerhört. Der Russe steckt 12 Kilometer von Stuttgart. Und ich erfahre das sozusagen auf Nachfrage.
Mein Führer, vielleicht handelt es sich ja wirklich um Fernfeuer. Sie erwähnten eine Eisenbahnbrücke über die Oder.
Ach, Unsinn!